The starship Vera moved slowly through empty space, its long silver body reflecting the faint light of a distant sun. Commander. Corin stood at the front of the ship, his tall frame still and watchful. His skin was a soft gray with thin silver lines that ran down his arms like rivers. His eyes were dark and deep, like pools with no bottom. He was Zenthari, one of the few of his kind to travel this far into the old regions of the galaxy. Behind him, the crew worked in silence, their movements quick and precise. The ship had been searching for centuries, not for life, but for proof that others had lived before them. The galaxy was full of ruins, temples, broken cities buried under sand or ice, but nothing recent, nothing alive. The Zenthari had risen, late in the story of the stars, and they often wondered if they were the last. Then the sensors beeped once softly, then again. Louder. Mirel. A young analyst with smooth, pale skin and sharp eyes looked up from her screen. Her fingers tapped the console. Twice, and the main display lit up with a new image, a planet blue and green wrapped in white clouds orbiting a yellow star sol. 3, she whispered. It cannot be. Corin stepped forward. What is it? Mirel swallowed it. Matches old records. It is Earth, the home world of the humans. Humans were myths to most Zenthari stories told in whispers around dying stars, said to have lived long before the rise of any known race. Some said they built cities among the stars. Others said they fought wars that cracked planets in two. But no one had ever found proof, yet here it was. The Vera moved closer, its scanners reaching out like invisible hands. The planet looked quiet, too quiet. No signals, no ships, no signs of cities or power. But then the deep scan began, and the truth came out. Beneath the oceans, beneath the ice, beneath the forests, there were structures not natural, not random. These were built with purpose and precision, thousands of them spread across the world, each one long and sleek-shaped, like blades or arrows buried just under the surface warships. Corin said the word like it was sacred, not destroyed, not lost. Hidden. Mirel nodded and looked at the energy readings, faint but steady like a heartbeat under snow. They are still alive. The crew fell silent. The idea was impossible. A fleet this old should have turned to dust. A fleet this large should have been seen from across the galaxy, but it was not. It had been buried, carefully sealed, and forgotten on purpose. Then the signal came, not loud, not clear. But there it was, a repeating pulse from deep under the Antarctic ice, a simple pattern, one long burst too short, then silence again and again. It was not a distress call. It was a timer. Something was waking up. Corin ordered the ship to hold position. He did not want to seem like a threat, but he could not look away from the screen. The human fleet had slept for hundreds of thousands of years, waiting for something or someone. He turned to Mirel. Decode it, he said. She worked fast, her fingers flying over the keys. The signal was old, encrypted in layers, but the final message was short and clear. Do not approach. Do not land. If you are not human, leave. Now. The room grew colder, even though the temperature had not changed. The warning was simple but heavy. It did not beg. It did not plead, it commanded. And then another message came through, stronger this time, from the planet itself. A voice, male, calm and deep, speaking in a language the translators barely understood. You have entered sovereign space. Identify yourself and state your purpose. The crew looked at each other. No one had ever claimed space like this. Not in all of recorded history. Not even the ancient Krell or the Void Kings had spoken with such authority. Corin took a breath. We are explorers, he said into the comms. We mean no harm. We found this system by chance. The voice did not answer right away. The silence stretched for minutes that felt like hours. Then the voice returned. You are not the first to come. You will not be the last if you wish to live. Do not move. The Vera froze in space, not by choice, but because something had taken control of its systems. The engines shut down, the weapons locked, the navigation froze on, the view screen. The planet turned. Slowly, then something changed. A crack appeared in the ice of Antarctica, long and black like a wound. Then fire burst from within, and a massive shape rose into the sky. It was long and dark with sharp edges and no windows. It did not look like any ship that Zenthari had ever seen. It looked like a weapon. Then another rose from the ocean near what was once Africa, then another from the mountains of Asia. One by one, the buried ships lifted into the air until the sky was filled with them. A fleet of shadows rising from a sleeping world. Myrrel whispered, "What have we done?" Corin did not answer. He felt small for the first time in his life, not afraid exactly, but aware that he stood at the edge of something far older and far greater than he could understand. Then the voice came again. "This is Captain Eli of the Terran Defense Fleet. Earth is not dead. Its people are not gone. If you choose to stay, you will be watched. If you choose to leave, you will be allowed to go. But know this, we have been asleep for 500,000 years, and we do not wake for small reasons." The connection cut. The crew stood in silence, the ship still frozen, the fleet above Earth now forming a ring around the planet, like a crown of steel. Myrrel looked at Corin, tears in her eyes. They were not myths. She said they were real, and they were waiting. Corin nodded slowly, then softly. He said, "Then we are not the first after all. Fair below on Earth in a deep chamber under miles of ice, a single light turned on inside. A glass pod frost cracked and fell to the floor. A man sat up, gasping for air. His body stiff, his mind foggy. He looked around the room. Rows of other pods stood silent. Most dark, only a few showing green lights. She touched the glass and a name appeared. On the side of the podeli was the last captain, the final guardian, the one who had given the order to sleep. He stood on shaky legs and walked to the center of the room. A console lit up as he approached, and a calm female voice spoke. "Welcome back. Captain Global Systems at 47% operational cryo network, 12% survival fleet status, 83% intact external contact unknown vessel, Xanthari class currently in Orbitelli." Took a deep breath, his hands steady now. "So, they found us," he said. He placed his palm on the console and spoke into the silence of the chamber. "This is Captain Eli of the Terran fleet. If anyone can hear this, human or not, Earth is not abandoned and we are not extinct." The message fired into space, faster than light, cutting through the dark like a knife, and somewhere above a sleeping world a war fleet opened its eyes. Eli stood in the center of the command chamber, his bare feet cold against the metal floor. The air was dry and still filled with the faint hum of machines waking up after a long sleep. Lights moved slowly along the walls, turning from red to yellow to green. One by one, the systems of the base were coming back online after 500,000 years. He looked at the rows of cryopods. Most were dark, their glass covered in frost. A few had soft green glows showing that someone inside might still be alive. But not many. He remembered the final days, the sky burning, the oceans boiling, the swarm coming from the stars like a storm of metal and fire. Humanity had lost the war, but not the fight they had built this place to survive. They had frozen their best soldiers, their smartest minds, and buried their fleet deep in the earth and ice. He was the last to wake by design. The final check, the last voice to decide if the world was safe. The AI voice came again. "Captain, the Xanthari vessel remains. In orbit, its crew has not moved. They are waiting for a signal." Ellie rubbed his face. His skin felt tight, his body weak from centuries of stillness, but his mind was clear. He had trained for this moment since he was a boy. He knew what to do. He walked to the main console and placed both hands on the panel. "Show me the fleet." The screen lit up with a map of the world. Red dots appeared across every continent, under the oceans, in the deserts, in the frozen poles. Each dot was a warship, each one armed. With weapons that could crack planets, the fleet had slept, but it had not rusted. It had been sealed in stasis fields powered by deep Earth reactors that ran on rock and heat. 83% ready. He said to himself, "Not perfect, but enough." Then, a soft sound came from the far end of the room, a hiss of air. A pod was opening. Eli turned and walked toward it. Frost fell from the glass as it lifted. A woman lay inside her chest, rising and falling slowly, her dark hair stuck to her forehead with cold sweater eyes open. Ellie stood over her. "You made it," he said. She blinked at him, then whispered his name. "Eli, I'm here." "Lena," he said, "we are home." She sat up slowly, her body shaking. She looked around the room, then at the screen showing the fleet and the ship in orbit. "What happened?" "We slept," he said. "And someone found." Uslena stood with his help. her legs weak but strong enough. She was once the chief strategist of the Terran War Council. She had helped plan the hiding of the fleet. She had helped choose who would sleep and who would not. She looked at the data feed from the Vera small crew. No weapons fired, no hostile moves, just scanning. They are not here to fight, she said. Maybe not. But they are here, Eli said. And that changes everything. They walked to the command deck together, the lights now fully on the air, warm, the systems humming in harmony. The AI spoke again. Captain, the Zenthari have sent a data burst. It is a message of peace play. A screen lit up, showing a tall alien with silver skin and dark eyes. It spoke in broken English. We are explorers. We found your world by chance. We mean no harm. We did not know you were here. The message ended. Lena crossed her arms. They are afraid? They should be? Eli said. We were not buried. We were waiting. And they woke us. They went to the control room and looked up at the main view screen. Earth turned slowly below the fleet, now in orbit, forming a perfect ring around the planet like a wall of steel. The Zenthari ship was small in comparison, floating near the moon, its lights to melee. Opened a channel. This is Captain Eli of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have entered. Protected space. Your ship is under our control. Your systems are locked. You will not leave until we decide. There was no answer. At first, then the alien commander Corin spoke. We hear you. We are not moving. We mean no threat. Good, Eli said, because we remember what threats look like and you are not. It yet. Lena looked at him. What now? Now we test them, Eli said, if they are to walk. On Earth, they must prove they are not like the swarm. How be showing them what we fought? He turned to the AE Astra. Send the simulation to their ship, deep in the core of the Earth. A machine powered up. It fired a pulse into space. A tiny probe launched from the moon and flew toward the Vera. When it got close, it opened and released a wave of light that wrapped around the alien ship. Inside the Vera, the crew screamed. The walls vanished. They were no longer in space. They stood on a planet under. A red sky. Metal shapes fell from the clouds like rain, each one hitting the ground and splitting open, revealing more shapes, smaller, faster. They moved like insects, but with sharp claws and red eyes. They climbed over buildings, over people tearing them apart. This is the swarm, Corin shouted. Though no one had spoken, the voice came from inside his mind watch. Eli's voice said in his head, watch what we faced. The simulation showed city after city, falling oceans, boiling stars going dark. The swarm did not conquer it, consumed it, turned everything into more swarm. And you fought this? Corin asked in his mind. We lost Earth because of it, the voice said. But we did not run, we hid. We waited. We built a way to win. Then the simulation ended. The crew of the Vera gasped as the walls came back. They were shaking, their suits damp with sweat. Mira looked at Corin, her eyes wide. They were alone against that. Corin said nothing. He looked at the screen. Earth still turned. The fleet still circled. Then, another message came from Earth. Prepare for second test before they could react. The ship shook not from an attack, but from a change in space around them. The stars shifted. They were no longer near Earth. They were in a new system. 2 planets in. Front of them, one rich with life, the other dead. A voice spoke in their minds. Choose. Save the colony on the green world, or save the archive on the dead. One, the archive holds all knowledge of a dead race. The colony has 10,000 lives. Corin looked at his crew. What do we do? Morel said. The archive, it holds the wisdom of a whole people. We must save knowledge. The others agreed. Corin made the choice and sent it. The moment he did, the illusion broke. They were back in orbit around Earth. Eli's voice came again. You chose knowledge. Corin said knowledge is power. It helps future generations, but you left 10,000 to die. Eli said we chose the people. We saved the colony every time. Even when we lost our science, our art, our history, we saved the ones who could still live silence. Then Eli said, you are not evil, but you do not understand what we are. Astra, the AI, said. Captain, one more pod has activated. Ellie. And Lena turned and walked back to the cryo chamber. Another pod was open. A man stood, inside his face, pale, his eyes wide. He looked at Eli and said it worked. I nodded. It did, Jake. You are the last. Jake was a pilot. One of the best. He had flown the first stealth scouts during the final war. He stepped out and leaned on the wall. His legs weak, but his mind sharp. He looked at the screen showing the fleet and the alien ship. So we are not alone anymore. No, Eli said, and we have work to do. They returned to the command deck. Lena said we cannot trust them yet. No, Eli said. But we can. Teach them. He opened the channel again to the Vera. You have seen part of our past. You have failed one test and passed another by surviving. We will now show you who we were. Not just as soldiers, but as people. The AI sent a new signal. This one. Not a test, but a gift. A data stream opened into the Vera's systems. Images poured in, children laughing, families eating under trees, music playing in streets, cities lit at night with color books being read, art being made, love being shared, then science. Great towers and spaceships flying to stars, hospitals healing the sick. This is what we fought for. Eli said not just to survive, but to live. Corin watched with his crew, tears formed in Morel's eyes. This was not a race of monsters. This was a people who had lost everything and still remembered beauty. We did not know. He said into the comms, we thought we were the first to carry the light. You are not, Eli said, but you can help us keep it. The stars are not safe. The AI said, there are still pockets. Of the swarm in dark zones, they sleep, but they can wake. Then what will you do? Corin asked. Ellie looked at Lena, then at Jake, then at the fleet on the screen. We will find them, he said. We will finish the war, and you will not be alone. Corin said, my crew. We will help. Ellie nodded. One ship is not much, but it is a start. The Vera's engines powered up not by force, but by choice. The lock was gone. Earth had given them back control, but they did not leave. Instead, Corin sent a signal to his people across the stars. A message of fire and hope, a warning and a call. He said, do not come to Earth unless you are ready to learn, because the humans are not gone. They were only sleeping. The sun rose over the cracked remains of what was once a city. The light touched broken towers and wide, empty roads covered in vines and dust. Birds flew between the bones of old buildings. But deep below the silence of the Earth, a heartbeat pulse, Delay, stood at the edge of the launch site. His coat moving in the cold wind behind him, the ground split open, and a massive shape rose from the dark. It was long and black with sharp edges and no windows, a warship from the old fleet, its metal untouched. By time its weapons sealed, but ready, Lena stood beside him, her eyes on the sky. The first ship is up, she said. Ellie nodded. The eclipse is awake. The ship climbed higher until it disappeared into the clouds. Soon it joined the others already in orbit. Forming a ring around the world like a shield of steel, more ships would rise every hour, every day until the full fleet was ready. On the moon, the Zenthari ship Vera floated still. Its crew watching in silence. Corin stood at the window, his hands. Behind his back, he had seen the simulations, he had felt the weight of the swarm. He had seen the truth of humanity, not just as warriors, but as people who loved and built and lost. He turned to Morel. We were wrong, he said. We thought the galaxy was ours to explore, but it was never empty. Myro looked at the data feed from Earth. The humans were not sending threats. They were sending knowledge maps of their old colonies, lists of lost stars, stories of their final war songs, poems, even recipes. They are not just waking up, she said. They are coming back. Corin nodded, and we must decide if we walk beside them or stay out of their way back on Earth. Eli and Lena walked through the main base. The lights now bright, the air warm, the systems alive more. Pods had opened, a few more. Soldiers had woken. Jake was one of them. He moved slowly, but his hands were steady when he touched the flight controls of a drone scout. He looked at Eli. I can fly again, he said. I placed a hand on his shoulder. We need you. They went to the command room where the AI Astra spoke in its calm voice. Captain, the Zenthari have sent a formal reply. Play it. The screen lit up. Corin appeared on it, his dark eyes serious. We offer peace. We offer help. We have no claim to your world. We only ask to learn and to stand with you if the swarm returns. Lee said nothing at first, then he nodded. We accept. But not as subjects, not as followers, as allies. Lena added. Send them the location of the old port in the Pacific. Tell them they can land there and speak face to face. The message was sent. 3 days later, a shuttle from the Vera touched down on a flat stone pad near the ocean. Corin stepped out in a simple suit. His body tall and still. Behind him came Morel and 2 others. They moved slowly, as if afraid the ground would break. Lee and Lena waited at the edge of the site. They wore plain clothes, not uniforms. Their weapons hidden, not gone. Corin stopped a few steps away. He bowed his head slightly. "We are grateful for your mercy." Eli did not bow. "We are not gods. We are survivors." They walked together to a wide hall built into the side of a cliff. Inside were screens, maps, and tables showing the state of the world. The fleet, the enemy. Corin looked around. This was all. "Buried," Eli said. "We hid because we knew the swarm would return one day. And you slept to be ready. We slept. So life could have a second chance?" Morell pointed to a map. "What is this red zone?" "That is where the swarm last appeared," Eli said, "deep in the Orion arm. It is quiet now, but not dead. We have sensors watching it. If it moves, we will know." Corin sat down. "We have seen stars with no light, no heat, no life. We thought they died, but now we think the swarm took them." "Then we agree," Lena said. "It is still out there." Jake entered the room, his flight suit on his face, tired but focused. "I checked the first 500 ships," he said. "All systems green, weapons online, shields at full good." Eli said, "Prepare the launch schedule. We cannot wait forever." Corin looked up. "You are leaving. We are going to check the old zones," Eli said. "Make sure the threat is still asleep, and if it is not, then we wake it up first." Silence fell in the room. Then Corin said, "Take us with you." Eli turned to him. "This is not your war." "No, it is not. But we have seen what the swarm does. We have felt the fear of being eaten alive. We do not want that for any world." Muriel stepped forward. "We have ships, we have fuel, we have pilots. Let us help." I looked at Lena. She gave a small nod. "Then," he said, "you will not command, you will follow orders, you will not carry weapons unless we allow it, and you will not leave the ship unless cleared." Corin nodded. "We accept." Astra spoke. "Captain, the Eclipse is ready for first jump." Ellie took a deep breath, then said, "Let them board." The next day, the Zenthari crew boarded the Eclipse, a small group, only 10 of them. They were given quarters, not cells, but the doors had locks and the halls were watched. As the ship prepared to leave Earth from space looked different. The fleet was now a full ring of dark ships, some small like fighters, others huge like floating cities. The sky was no longer empty, it was guarded on the bridge. Eli sat in the command chair. Jake stood at the flight controls, Lena at strategy. The Xanthari sat in the back, Corin watching everything. Astra said, "Jump sequence active, all systems." Green Ally said, "Take us out." The Eclipse moved forward, its engines silent but strong. It passed the moon, then the orbit of Mars. The fleet did not follow. Only the Eclipse would go this time. Only the core team as they reached the edge of the solar system. Eli said, "Set course for the Orion dead zone." Jake entered the data, then looked back. "How close do we go?" "Close enough to see if it breathes," Eli said, "but not close enough to wake it." The ship jumped, space tore open in front of them, and the Eclipse vanished in a flash of light. When they reappeared, the stars were dimmer, the air colder. A dark cloud floated ahead of them. Not gas, not dust, but something. Elsie Astra said, "Massive energy readings ahead. Not natural, not alive, but not dead either." Lena checked the screen. "This matches the swarm signature." Corin stood up. "It is here." Eli stood and walked to the front window. The cloud was huge. It covered a whole system. No planets, no light, just silence. Then a single shape moved inside it. Small at first, then more came like flies from a wound. Jake whispered, "They are active, not fully." I said, "They are dreaming." Astra said, "They are in hibernation, but their network is live. They can wake in hours if disturbed. We need to mark this place." Eli said, "Put it on the war map." Then Corin said, "What if we destroy it now and kill what we do not understand?" Lena said, "No, we do not strike first. We watch, we learn, we protect." Eli nodded. "We leave a beacon. It will send data back to Earth if the swarm moves. We will know." Jake set the beacon and it floated into the dark cloud, its light small but bright. They turned to leave. Astra said, "Wait, what is it?" A signal from inside the cloud, not words, not sound, but a pulse, a pattern. One long, two short. Then silence. Ellie froze. "That is our signal. The one we use to wake the fleet. Someone inside the cloud is using our code." Jake said, "That is not possible unless." Eli said, "There were survivors, humans, who did not sleep, who ran and were caught." The room grew still. Then Eli said, "We are not alone in this war. We never were." The Eclipse turned and jumped back to Earth. But now, they carried a new truth. The enemy was not just out there. It had their voices, and it knew their codes. The Eclipse returned to Earth in silence, its hull cold from the deep void. The ship slipped through the ring of warships and docked at the main station under the Pacific Ocean. Eli stepped off first, his boots hitting metal with a dull echo behind. Him came Lena, Jake, and the Zenthari crew, their faces pale from what they had seen. Corin walked slowly, his eyes wide. "We were wrong," he said. "It is not just a machine force. It has memory. It has stolen identity." Ellie nodded. "We feared this. The swarm does. Not just kill it. Copies. It takes the minds of those it consumes, turns them into tools, and it knows our signal." Lena said someone woke up in there and used our code or something wearing their face. Jake said. They moved through the base, the lights bright, the air warm, but the mood was heavy. Astra met them in the main hall. "Captain, the fleet is at 89% readiness. 5 more silos have come online." "Good," Eli said. "We will need every ship." He turned to Corin. "Your people must send word to every Zenthari ship in the galaxy. Tell them to stay away from the Orion Dead Zone if they go near it." "They may not come back," Corin nodded. "I will send the order today. And tell them this," Eli said. "Earth is no longer hidden. We are awake. We are armed. And we are watching." The message was sent that night. A pulse fired from the moon, a signal in all known languages and a few unknown ones. It said, "Earth lives, its children have returned. Stay in peace or face our wrath." The next morning, Eli stood in the war room. A large screen showed the galaxy. Red dots marked the last known swarm zones. Yellow dots were human colonies lost long ago. Blue dots were Zenthari outposts. Lena pointed to a yellow dot near the Draco arm. "What about the Melly?" Looked at it. That was New Hope. The last colony we sent before the fall, we thought it died. But what if it did not? Then we have family out there. Jake leaned on the table. If the swarm found them, they could be like the ones in the cloud, or they could be free. Eli said, "We need to know," Astra said. "Captain, 2 more cryopods have activated." They went to the chamber. 2 new people stood in the light. One was a woman named Dana. She had been a scout pilot. The other was a man named Paul. He had worked in deep comms. Both were weak but alive. Dana looked around. "Where are we, Earth?" Lena said, "You are home." Paul touched the console and asked, "Is the war over?" "Not yet," Eli said. "But we are ready." Dana sat down, her hands shaking. "I remember the last flight I was sent to map. The outer colonies, I never made it back. The swarm hit the ship. Did you see New Hope?" she asked. "No, but I saw its signal. It was still on when I went under. Then it might still be there." Jake said. Ellie looked at the map. "We go there next, but not yet," Lena said. "We need more pilots, more minds, more strength. We cannot fight the swarm and search for lost colonies with 1 ship, so we wake more." Eli said. Astra warned Captain. "The cryo network is fragile. Only 12% of the pods are still active. Waking more may damage the system." "Then we wake the most important ones," Eli said. "List the key roles." Astra did. The list came fast: engineers, medics, scouts, comms, experts, biologists. Ellie gave the order. "Wake them." Over the next 10 days, more people woke up, each 1 week at first, but strong in will. They walked the halls of the base like ghosts from the past. Some cried when they saw the sky. Some could not speak at all, but all of them remembered why they were here. Dana took a flight test in a drone. She flew it through the canyons and back in perfect control. Paul checked the comms array and found old signals still bouncing between stars, lost messages from lost people. One night he called Eli, "Come here." Eli came to the comms room. Paul pointed at a screen. "Listen," a voice came through, soft and broken, but clear. "This is New Hope Colony. We are under attack. The swarm is here. We repeat. We are under attack. The date on the signal was 500,000 years ago, the day the colony fell. But then another voice came, newer, clearer. We are here. We are human. We are alive. If anyone can hear this, we still stand." The room went still. "That signal is fresh," Paul said, "less than a year old." Ellie felt his heart beat hard. "They survived." Dana said, "We have to go." "We will," Eli said. "But not yet." "Why not?" Jake asked. "We have the Eclipse. We have pilots. We have a fleet waking up. Because if we rush, we die." Eli said, "The swarm is not just out there. It is in our codes. It knows how we think. It knows our signals. It may be waiting for us to reach out, so we go smart. Lena said, "We send a probe, not a ship. Astra built the probe in 3 days. Small, fast, silent, it carried no weapons, only sensors and a recorder. Eli gave it one order: go to New Hope. Listen, learn, return." The probe launched and jumped into space. While they waited, Eli met with Corin in the command hall. The Xanthari leader said, "My people have answered they will not go near the dead zones, but they ask one thing, what they want to help. Not just watch, then. Let them prove it," Eli said. "Assign them tasks mapping the solar system, checking old satellites, guarding the moon." Corin agreed, and within hours, Xanthari shuttles moved through the sky, doing the work once done by machines. Now forgotten days passed. Then a week. Then the probe returned. It docked quietly, its metal body scarred from radiation and dust. Astra pulled the data and played it on the main screen. The image showed a planet green and blue, like Earth. Cities stood on the surface. Lights moved. In the streets, ships flew in the air, but then the camera zoomed in. The people walked in lines, their eyes blank, their movements too clean, too sharp, and on their arms were marks black and moving like ink under skins. Warm marks. Eli said. Then a voice came from the city speaker. "This is Colony Command. All units return to base. The enemy is near." But the voice was wrong, flat, lifeless, and then the sky split open, ships fell from above. Not human, not Xanthari, long and jagged like bones they landed, and opened, and out came figures in human shape, but not human. They moved fast. They killed fast. The last image was of a child running, then a black tendril grabbing her. The screen went dark. Silence filled the room. Paul whispered, "They are not free. They are." Caught, Dana fell to her knees. "They are alive, but not alive." Eli stood, his hands clenched. "We go not with one ship," Lena said, "with many. Then we wake the fleet." Eli said, "All of it." Astra said, "Captain, the cryo network cannot take more. Then we use the backups." Eli said, "The training pods. The sim bodies." "What are you saying?" Jake asked. "Humans can be made from code and cell." Eli said, "We have the minds of those who died. We have their memories, their skills. We can bring them back. Not as flesh, but as thought in. Metal, you mean AI copies? Yes, but not just AI copies of real people." Lena looked at him. "That is not natural, but it is necessary." Eli said, "If we lose now, we lose forever." Astra said, "I can do it. I can wake the minds from the archive and place them in drone. Bodies, ships, stations, weapons, do it," Eli said. That night the base changed. Lights flashed in new halls. Long sealed doors opened, rows of pods lit up, not with flesh but with wire and glass bodies formed inside them. Slow at first, then fast. Pilots, engineers, soldiers. Medics, all reborn, not as humans, but as something newbie. Morning, Astra said, "The first 1,000 are ready." I looked at the fleet on the screen. Soon it would not just be a wall of steel, it would be a storm of memory and fire, and we go to New Hope, he said, "to end this, not to save them." Lena said, "But to free them, yes." Eli said, "If they are alive, we fight for them. If they are lost, we end their paint." The eclipse powered up, its engines burning blue. The fleet above Earth turned as one, and the war began again. The fleet rose from Earth like a shadow across the sun. Thousands of warships lifted from silos, oceans, and mountains, their engines silent but strong. The sky darkened as they formed a great ring around the planet. Then one by one they jumped into deep space, leaving the world below. Quiet once more on the bridge of the eclipse. Eli stood at the front, his hands behind his back. The stars stretched ahead, long and cold. The path to New Hope was far through dead zones and silent stars, but they were not alone. Beside him stood Lena, her eyes on the main screen. Jake sat at the flight controls, his fingers steady. Dana was in the scout bay with a team of new pilots, some human, some born from the archive in metal and code. Corin and Morel stood. At the back of the bridge, the Xanthari had chosen to stay. They wore simple suits, their faces calm but their hearts heavy. They had seen the probe's data. They knew what waited at the end. The jump began. Space tore open, and the eclipse vanished in. A flash of light behind it followed hundreds of ships, the core fleet, the ones most ready. The most armed, they reappeared near the edge of the Draco arm. The stars here were dim, the air thick with dust. Astra said, "Captain, we are at the outer mark. No signs of swarm activity." Yatelli nodded. Send the signal to the others, let them come in slow and quiet. The rest of the fleet arrived in waves, each group forming up in silent order. They did not speak over open channels. They did not light their engines bright. They were hunters now, not just soldiers. Paul sat in calms, his hands on the board. He was listening to every sound in space, every pulse, every whisper. If the swarm was here, it would talk, and he would hear it. Hours passed. Then a soft, beefy looked up. "Eli, we have a signal play." A voice came through, broken and slow. "This is New Hope Colony. We are under attack. The swarm is here." It was old, the same one they had heard before. Then another voice came, newer, colder. "This is Colony Command. All units return to base. The enemy is near." But the voice was not right. It was too flat. Too clean. Jake said that is not human. No, Paul said, it is the swarm using their words. Donna came in from the back. "We should send scouts." "No," Eli said. "We go together. We do not split. We do not lose anyone." They moved forward slowly. The planet came into view, green, blue, and beautiful from afar. Forests, oceans, cities, lights in the dark. But as they got closer, the truth showed. The cities were too neat, too clean. No smoke, no movement. No life, just order, and in orbit were ships long and black-shaped like bones. They floated in perfect circles around the planets. Warm ships, Astra said, massive energy readings below the surface. They are not just on the surface, they are. In the ground, in the water, in the air, Ely said open fleet channel. The screen lit up with the faces of captains, pilots, engineers, both flesh and code. "This is Captain Eli of the Terran fleet. We have come home. We have come to free New Hope if you are still human. If you still remember, fight." No, he waited. No signal came back. Then Paul said, "I hear something, not words, a pulse under the main city. It is weak, but it is there." "A heartbeat," Lena said. "There are people down there alive." But Hell Daly turned to, "Jake, prepare for descent, not just you." Lena said, "We go with you." The plan was set. The Eclipse would land near the main city. Other ships would hold orbit and guard. The sky drones would scan for weak points. The new pilots would fly cover. They dropped. Through the clouds, the air shook as the swarm ships turned to face them. Weapons fired, red beams cut the sky, but the Eclipse shields held strong. Then the fleet fired back. Beams of white light tore through the swarm ships. They cracked, split, and fell. Into the sea, the Eclipse landed hard on a wide road. Dust flew as the ramp lowered. Eli stepped out first in armor that shone like water. Lena came next, then Jake, Dana, and a team of soldiers. The Zenthari stayed on the ship to guard it. The city was silent, too silent. No wind, no birds, no voices. Just rows of buildings and empty streets. Then movement figures came from the side streets, walking in perfect lines. Men, women, children. Their eyes blank, their arms marked with black lines that moved like worms under skin. They did not speak. They just stared. Ellie said in a low voice, "If they are taken, we cannot save them as they are, but we can free them." Lena nodded. "We end the paint." The team moved forward slowly until one of the figures stopped it, looked at Eli, then spoke in a flat voice. "You are not allowed here." "I am home," Eli said. "And you are not alone." The figure's head twitched, then its mouth opened wide and black smoke poured out. It fell to the ground and did not move. More came. They did not run. They walked, but their arms changed. Shape-sharp blades formed from their fingers. Jake fired first. A bright pulse hit one in the chest. It fell, but 3 more took its place. They fought hard. The soldiers fired clean shots, each one ending a life, too. Save a soul. The ground filled with bodies, but Eli did not look away. This was war. This was mercy. Deep in the city, they found a large building covered in black vines that pulsed like veins. Astra said, "This is the core. It is where the swarm mind lives," Ellie said. "Blow the doors." The charge went off and the entrance split open. Inside was dark, cold wires hung from the ceiling, and in the center of the room was a mass of black metal and flesh. It pulsed like a heart, and voices came from it, whispers in many languages, begging, screaming. "This is the hive," Eli said. Jake said, "Should we destroy it?" "Yes, but not yet." Paul said, "I hear something inside, a real voice." "Not fake." They stepped closer, and from the dark, a hand reached out. A man lay half buried in the mass, his face pale, his eyes weak but alive. He said one word, "Help." They pulled him free. He was thin, his skin cold, but he breathed. He blinked at Eli and said, You came. We came, Eli said. What is your name? Carl, he said. I was a guard. I hid when they came. I stayed. Under the city I sent the signal. You did good, Eli said. Carl shook his head. They took them all. They turned them. They use our thoughts to make new ones. Then it ends now, Eli said. He turned to the team plant the charges. They did it fast and left the building. The moment they were clear, Eli gave the order, fire the explosion, lit the sky, the hive burst open, black liquid flew into the air, and the voices stopped. The figures in the streets fell where they stood. But it was not over. In the sky, the last swarm. Ships attacked the fleet, fired back beams of light cut through space. Metal cracked and burned. Then a new signal came from Earth. Astra said, Captain, the beacon at the Orion Dead Zone has been triggered. The swarm is waking. Ellie looked at the ruined city, at the freed man, at the stars above. This is not the end, he said. It is the beginning. We go back, he said to the team. We take Carl with us. We warn everyone. The Eclipse lifted from the ground, its engines loud. The fleet turned and jumped back, too. Earth, when they arrived, the world was no longer asleep. The silos were open. The warships were ready. The new pilots, the reborn minds, the Xanthari allies all stood. Ready. Ellie stood at the main hall and spoke into the open channel. This is Captain Eli. The swarm is not gone. It is coming. We have seen its face. We have felt its lie. We have lost much, but we are not broken. If you are human, if you remember Earth, if you still fight, stand with us. The signal went out to every ship, to every world, to every soul who had ever feared the dark. And from across the stars, answers came, we are here. We remember, we stand. The fleet grew stronger every day, and Eli knew the final war was near, but this time they would not hide. This time they would not lose. This time they would win.